when you come in and you make some drastic changes, it better work or else the other side's going to get a job.
What's happening right now is a major gamble at best.
I voted for Trump, and I also think he's playing a high-stakes game here. I'm gonna roll with him for a couple days, a couple weeks, and see how this pans out. I don't care if you're middle class working. People say, which, by the way, Trump's people never said. I've seen a couple, only rich people care about the stock market. No, you need the stock market to rip. You need it to be solid.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. Were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing.
How long until Republicans mutiny against Trump when they start losing a lot of their money?
Remember that inflation was so fucking bad, even if it meant staving off the worst effects of the of COVID, and even if it meant that the U.S. economy emerged stronger than every other country in the world after COVID, inflation was so bad that we had to have a referendum on the Democratic presidency for it. But this is actually totally A-okay and 100% fine, okay? This is actually okay. This is an okay thing to suffer through for no reason.
It's sort of at a similar level than, say, Japan at 24%.
Korea has been a FTA partner with the United States for the last 13 years, and I believe that this FTA was really win-win. It really helped many U.S. producers and ranchers really grow market share in Korea. For example, the U.S. beef. So Korea is the #1 market for U.S. beef. I mean, even bigger than 1.4 billion Chinese market. So I think it appears that Korea got the highest level of tariff among all FTA partners of the United States.
I remember even U.S. beef was such a big concession coming from South Korea. I covered the course FTA negotiations. There were huge protests here. Yeah. Do you think perhaps the leadership vacuum that we've seen here in Seoul might have contributed to the fact that South Korea was not
is going to be a very interesting Monday tomorrow morning. We are looking at the stock futures right now, and they are in deep red. This is always a look of how the market may open. If it did open right now, the Dow would open at more than 1,600 points in the red. We are seeing the NASDAQ down almost 1,000 points right now if it were to open right now. So
that seems 1,000 yards. It's because there's not even there's no political analysis to be done. You're just watching in horror. There's just nothing. There's nothing to be said. There's no way to defend this. There's no way to talk about this intelligently. It's just unhinged, autistic, retarded shit.
Again, the futures not painting a rosy picture at all. This could be the third day in a row for a trading day to be down considerable. We saw the Dow on Thursday down more than 1,600 points. On Friday, it was even worse at more than 2,200 points in the red. And if it does open indeed in the red tomorrow, it could be a massive sell-off once again. So we are going to be looking at some of the comments from President Trump on tariffs. This is what he already put out on Truth Social, saying we have massive financial deficits with China, the European Union, and many others. The only way this problem can be cured is with tariffs, which are now bringing in tens of billions. We'll get back to that in moments. Let's go out to the tape playback of President Trump.
This is from earlier today.
How was the golf tournament?
Very good, because I won. It's good to win. You heard I won, right? Did you hear I won? Yeah. Just to...
remember, dude, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do. I have to retire. I have to retire to this presidency. I'm not going to be able to ever talk to conservatives again. I can't do it. I can't do it. How much do they make fun of Biden or Obama for not working or for being on a plane or flying? This motherfucker steps out of Air Force One in the middle of a worldwide global financial meltdown that he literally created unilaterally on a fucking whim. And he speaks about a golf tournament, and none of the conservatives give a fuck. Nobody cares. They never cared. They never cared about anything. They never cared about fucking anything. Everything was always a joke. Nothing it was real for these guys. Nothing was real for these guys. Every vacation complaint, Obama writes too many executive orders, Obama does too much with the powers of the presidency, the stock market, cost of living, inflation, none of it mattered. None of it ever mattered.
Back it up. Over there. I won.
What's your handicap
I like
these
to
days?
win very low. I have a very low handicap. Okay, let's go.
Sir, Chinese...
Did he come up with this financial theory himself? Did he just listen to his stupid advisors? Trump doesn't listen to advisors. He doesn't have advisors. He just has people who are yes men. Trump just dictates to people around him. There is nobody in the Trump admin that can or will challenge him. He just has sycophants.
Very low. I have a very low handicap. Okay, let's go.
Sir, Chinese foreign...
Back up a little
Sure.
bit.
The Chinese foreign ministry said that the market has spoken when asked about the tariffs. What do you make of that?
The market has spoken when they look at the fact that we have $1 billion trade deficit. When you look at the trade deficit that we have with certain countries, way over $1 billion per country. But with China, it's $1 trillion. And we have to solve our trade deficit with China. We have $1 trillion trade deficit with China. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year we lose with China. And unless we solve that problem, I'm not going to make a deal. Now, I'm willing to deal with China, but they have to solve their surplus. We have a tremendous deficit problem with China. They have a surplus of at least $1 trillion a year. I think it's like $1.1 trillion. And I want that solved. And no other president's taken it on. I had to take it on the last time. And then we had a rigged election. No other president's taken it on.
Rigged, and he still even repeats that talking point. The rigged election. Leader of the free world, president of the United States, doesn't believe in the results of the last U.S. election. Can you stop crashing into my shit?
And so China is, they say the market's spoken. China is right now taking a big hit because everyone knows we're right. They have to pay tariffs because otherwise we have a surplus, that they have a surplus with us that is not sustainable.
Mr. President.
And we're talking about $1 trillion, you know that, right? We're not going to lose $1 trillion for the privilege of buying pencils from China.
Just pencils?
On the idea of crashing the markets on purpose, there's been some speculation, partly because of the video that was posted on Truth Social, that there was some sort of deliberate effort on your part to have the market sell off. Can you talk about that?
No, that's not so. But I do want to solve the deficit problem that we have with China, with the European Union and other nations. And they're going to have to do that. And if they want to talk about that, I'm open to talking. But otherwise, why would I want to talk? And as you know, because of the tariffs, we have $7 trillion already committed to be invested in the United States, building auto plants, building chip companies. And
you know what needs to happen? But they won't do it because they're pussies. And because fuck capitalists, this will turn me into a socialist faster than anything else. These pussy fucking corporations. The people that have committed money to building in the U.S. should pull out. They should say, we can't do this. This is not a friendly business environment any longer. And we feel like we don't feel comfortable doing business in the United States. It's too unpredictable, too chaotic. And they should start pulling their investments. And then Trump would lose this talking point. That would be brutal for him, too.
All sorts of companies are coming into our country at levels that we've never seen before. Biden had nothing coming in. This was a dead country with Biden. He didn't know what he was doing, and that's now been proven at least.
Trump, this weekend, you talked to a lot of leaders this weekend. Can you tell us, sir, were there any deals made?
I spoke to a lot of leaders, European, Asian, from all over the world. They're dying to make a deal. But I said, we're not going to have deficits with your country. We're not going to do that because to me a deficit is a loss. We're going to have surpluses or we're at worst going to be breaking even. But China would be the worst in the group because the deficit is so big and it's not sustainable.
He's economically illiterate. But I mean, I guess the whole, this is what Richard Hanania talks about with low human capital. That the conservatives have always just been bad on human capital. Their people are just dumber. So, like, what do you do?
And you know, I was elected on this. This was one of the biggest reasons I got elected, was exactly because of this. And we're going to put tariffs, we've already put them on. It's not a question of we will. We're going to put them on. And those tariffs next year will make us $1 trillion. In addition to the $1 trillion, thousands of companies are going to relocate back into the United States. In North Carolina, already furniture people are starting to move back in. In Detroit and Michigan, which I won, because of what I said, what I'm telling you, car companies are starting to open up. In Indiana, a big one is under construction, as an example, Honda. But they're moving in like nobody has ever seen this before. So it's unsustainable for us to allow China to have surpluses of $1 trillion. We will be taking in over $1 trillion
Japanese markets trip the circuit breaker.
Period of time with the tariffs that I've already instituted. They're already in place. Now, what's going to happen with the market, I can't tell you, but I can tell you our country has gotten a lot stronger. And eventually, it'll be a country like no other. It'll be the most dominant country economically in the world.
Absolutely.
Which is what it should be.
Is there a Trump put though? Is there pain in the market at some point? You're unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put. Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I mean, I think it's I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something, and we have such a horrible. We have been treated so badly by other countries because we had stupid leadership that allowed this to happen. They took our businesses, they took our money, they took our jobs, they moved it to Mexico, they moved it to Canada, they moved a lot of it to China, and it's not sustainable. We're not going to do it. Now we have hundreds of billions of dollars is pouring into our country on a monthly basis. It's pouring, it's already started because I put tariffs on. And eventually it's going to straighten out and our country will be solid and strong again.
Elon Musk has said he hopes for zero tariffs between the U.S. and Europe. Is that a place you'd like to also get to?
Well, the problem is that Europe has made a fortune with us. You know, Europe also has had a tremendous surplus with the United States. Europe has treated us, it's a little smaller, but they've treated us very, very badly. China has, but Europe has also. Europe has been very, very bad to us. Europe.
Like, he's not even a good fascist because, like I said before, one of the big fears when it comes to running tariffs and all this type of shit is you make it so that now you can reward people who are loyalists to your administration. Why didn't Trump? Imagine the political power Trump could have. You know how Canada's conservatives have been fucked, right? Imagine the political power Trump could have if he would have went to Pierre or whatever and negotiated. Canada won't have any tariffs because I believe in your conservative leader here. Canada's going to be free from all of my economic stuff. Like, there's so many things that he could have done to abuse this, and he can't. He's just actually fucking retarded. He's just retarded in every sense of the word.
Europe has
like, he can't even do fascism well. He's so stupid.
Taking our leaders for a ride. They don't take our cars. They don't take our food products. They don't take anything. And we take their cars, Mercedes, Volkswagen, BMW. You know, we take their millions of cars. They take no cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take anything. Europe's treated us very badly. We put a big tariff on Europe. They are coming to the table. They want to talk. But there's no talk unless they pay us a lot of money on a yearly basis. Number one for present, but also for past. Because they've taken a lot of our wealth away, and we're not going to allow it to happen.
Sir, have you talked to any tech leaders over the weekend about the tariffs?
Yeah, I talked to the biggest in the world. I talked to the biggest of them all. Many of them.
Like, he sounds...
Because they've taken a lot of our wealth away, and we're not going to allow it to happen.
Like, who are you talking to? Which countries are you talking to, sir? Because you keep saying that you're talking. I'm starting to wonder if you're just lying.
Have you talked to any tech leaders over the weekend about the tariffs?
Yeah, which tech leaders?
I talked to the biggest in the world. I talked to the biggest of them all. Many of them. But I've talked to, I would say 4 or 5 that are considered the biggest. They don't, you know what they said?
That you consider the biggest? What does that mean?
We don't blame you.
Who did you talk to?
Who?
I don't don't want to say. I'll put it out. I may give it to you.
Like, do people believe that? I need to know if Trump will believe that. When Trump says he's spoken to the biggest business leaders and they all are sympathetic, do you believe him when he says that?
I have to find out if they mind. You know, I don't know if that was a confidential call or not, but we had 5 or 6. I've spoken to many countries. They all want to do, just so you understand the power of what I'm doing. Every country is calling and being very solicitous of us. Very, very nice. They're being very nice. And we have to be able to justify. This is not sustainable. The United States can't.
Oh, true. Look, also, I was vindicated on this. Trump is a fucking moron, okay? And I was always right. And this idea of like, well, they're billionaires, they're smart, bullshit. I was so right. A single fucking clip in the past 8 years of Donald Trump speaking intelligently about any policy decision, domestic or foreign. You will not find a single one. Not even a single clip. Not even one. The president of the United States speaking like he has any fucking wherewithal whatsoever what's going about on policy. Donald Trump, if you put him on stage right now, he wouldn't be able to tell you what a tariff is. He wouldn't be able to explain the responsibilities of the 3 branches of government. He wouldn't be able to do it. He doesn't know what the Attorney General is for. He doesn't know what the Department of Justice. He has no fucking concept of any of these things. But he gets a pass by it because the media won't press him on it because they don't want to seem biased and because his supporters are fucking idiots.
Strong word. And another challenge. A reward of $10 for Donald Trump speaking cogently.
About any policy, domestic or foreign, over the past 8 years. Something that where you listen to the guy and you're like, oh shit, this guy knows some shit. He knows some shit.
We'll set up a special email address or something for the submissions.
True and based. Sorry, back to my president.
Can't lose $1.9 trillion on trade. We can't do that and also spend a lot of money on NATO in order to protect European nations. We cover them with military, then we lose money on trade.
We also sell them military, right? You know that too, right?
The whole thing is crazy. And I got elected on that basis. We explained it. You know,
Wait. We got a genius in the house. Hold on. This is the only guy I trust on finance.
Some experts are saying tomorrow, Monday, is going to be Black Monday. Like, market's going to drop. It's going to be nasty. And it may. So I got some unsolicited advice I want to share with you before we kick off our week. A couple things. When COVID happened, I was in LA getting ready for a board meeting. I land, we get to Beverly Hills Hilton. Wife is there, kids are there. We thought we may as well go to Universal Studios for, having a good time with the family. All of a sudden, that's the day where Rudy Gobert gets COVID to Donovan Mitchell, Disney closed down, Universal closed down, NHL shut down. We're in LA. We're like, what the hell is going on? We got on a plane. I said, babe, we can't stay. We got to go back. Everybody canceled the board meeting. We flew back to Dallas, dropped our family, came back to the office, was at the office till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And
the Gobert clip is insane, by the way. Which Gobert clip?
One thing I studied was the following. My entire business insurance is face-to-face. I have to sit down in front of you to sell you. So imagine you got 15, 20,000 insurance agents nationwide. None of us know how to sell on Zoom. We've never done that before, right? So it was a big disruption to our business. Every one of my guys was frightened of what's about to happen. I stayed there. First thing I looked at was the following. In the history of America, I looked at every pandemic that took place, top 10, worst pandemic on how the market performed. And it's...
Hold on, I've never seen this before, but I wonder if he's about to give the most... Is he going to pretend that he did original research? Should I try to guess it? There's a commonly cited thing. I'm not going to be able to remember what it was exactly, but basically the idea is that, like, 90% of market gains happen within like 9 days when something is rebounding, which is why you don't ever try to time the market, is because you can miss everything. I don't know if he's going to say that or something totally different. Destiny worse? Oh boy, hold on.
Shows, the collapse and all this other stuff, nasty. Out of 10 pandemics that we've had, 9 of them, whatever the drop was that was drastic, within 6 months, it recovers and goes above and beyond. The only one that it didn't recover for 18 months was the AIDS pandemic that we had. So what's the point here? You
didn't have to do that research, by the way. I don't know why you said you went back and looked when this is like the most common fucking investing advice in the entire fucking world, but thanks for going back and checking, I guess.
Market tanked, and it went to like 18,000 Dow. I don't know what it was, but some number like that. One of my good friends was so afraid of where the market was going to be going, that he took 100% of his money out of his investments. We're talking 10 million goes down to 5 million. He takes the whole thing out. 3 months after he takes the whole thing out, everything goes back to normal price that it was before and beyond. But he lost 5 million bucks. So what's the moral of the story? Whether tomorrow is going to be black, if it's Black Monday tomorrow, I'm losing tens of millions of dollars tomorrow, and purely investment-wise. But if it is, pump the brakes, not your financial advisor, seek counsel. I got to put that disclaimer out there. Pump the brakes, don't make an emotional decision. If you're a passive investor, not an active one. Active is somebody that watches it 24/7 and is managing everything that's going on. But if you're passive, 401k, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, stuff like that you have, that all of them, oh my God, Bitcoin went to this, Ethereum went to this, look at the Tesla, look at Max 7, look at Roger, what are we going to do? Just pump the brakes. This tariff situation is going to come about and it's going to go. You have to know one thing that the president knows and every CEO of every job knows. If the market goes into shits, guess what? The other party's taking over midterms. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying to you. So every leader knows when you come in and you make some drastic changes, it better work or else the other side's going to get a job. They know that. Trust me. So having said that, long term, future looks bright. Short term, only the paranoid survive. Whatever you do, try to tap into your ability to reason. Not emotion, but logic and reason. If you do that, we're all going to be fine. But I will tell you, we are about to go through some bumpy. This is why I call 2025 the year of surprises, because I knew this was coming up. And I knew if the president was going to do what he said he was going to do with tariffs, oh, lots of enemies. And many of the enemies he was going to create were going to be domestic. People who lose money. And a lot of people have lost money so far in 2025. But I don't want you to be surprised tomorrow if Monday's a crazy day with the market. That's why I call 2025 the year of surprises. And if you know one thing, if you've seen Tom Cruise's movie Cocktails, which is my favorite Tom Cruise movie, I know there's a lot of great ones. He says, I bet you can never spook me again. And she said, I bet I can. We're having twins. I just want to make sure you don't get spooked tomorrow if the market is crazy. Just stay in control. Don't dump everything because it's probably going to recover quickly. Again, I may be wrong, just telling you. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, I fucking hate this guy. But this is actually a wholesome video and it's actually super true. Don't let politics drive your financial real world decisions. It's good advice.
American people understand it a lot better than the media, but the media understands it, and much of the media writes correctly about it, I must say.
Sir,
okay.
Sir, when are the next set of talks with Russia, and who will participate, and where are we in terms of making progress in terms of peace?
We're talking to Russia. We'd like them to stop. I don't like the bombing. The bombing goes on, and every week thousands of young people are being killed. And it's a horrible thing that should have never started, would have never started if I were president, 100%.
On the tariffs, is it a negotiation now? Bloomberg, sir. Is it a negotiation or rules of the road?
Go ahead, another question, please.
Sir, about TikTok.
She asked too many questions.
Sir, about TikTok, there was a report that there was about to be a deal, but China changed its mind because of the tariffs.
I'd say it was largely true. The report is that we had a deal pretty much with TikTok. Not a deal, but pretty close. And then China changed the deal because of tariffs. If I gave a little cut in tariffs, they'd approve that deal in 15 minutes, which shows you the power of tariffs, right?
President, former New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu is saying that he'll win the open Senate seat in New Hampshire and that he has no doubt you'll support him if he runs. Is that true?
True. I told him. He came to my office, came to the Oval Office, and met with Chris Sununu, and I support him fully. I hope he runs. He's been very nice to me over the last year or so. But no, I hope he runs. I think he'll win that seat.
Sir, when we get into late summer, early fall, and people are doing their back-to-school shopping, do you think they'll have inflation to worry about at that point?
I think there's not going to be. I don't think inflation is going to be a big deal because if you look at me, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars. This is not new to me. I took in during my 4 years hundreds of billions of dollars from China, and we also took in a lot of money from other countries, but in particular China, because it was just getting started, and we had no inflation. Who had inflation was Biden. Biden had the worst inflation in the history of our country.
Yep,
I had no
Biden.
inflation.
That darn Biden.
We had a perfect country. We had no wars. I ended them all. I defeated ISIS. Everything was good. And then with this
And then
numbskull
goddamn
got in,
Biden
as
came
they
in.
really call themselves now numbskulls. But when he got in, bad things happened to our country, including our open border. And now we're doing very well with, we have the best numbers on the border that we've ever had.
Speaking of the border, have you talked to Attorney General Pam Bondi recently about the cases going on with the deportations?
Yeah, sure. It's really sad when you think that Biden allowed millions of people to come in, and if they find one, now I will tell you, the one, somebody said he's a member of MS-13, not Tren de Aragua. He's a member of MS-13, and therefore he should immediately be brought back. Well, MS-13 is just as bad as Tren de Aragua. So they say, oh, we made a mistake because he's not with them, he's with MS-13. Bring him back, bring him back.
Is that what they say?
MS-13 is a very bad group.
Sir, how concerned...
Maybe as bad, actually.
How concerned are you about the measles outbreak? There was another fatality today, and what else would you like to see in terms of the response?
Well, I think they're doing reports on it. It's so far a fairly small number of people relative to what we're talking.
So far, a very small number of people. Wait, what was this? What am I thinking of right now? Of a thing that, like some disease during Trump's first term, I think, that didn't impact too many people. It was just a small number of people, and there weren't very many people sick initially. And Trump said that it wasn't going to be any bigger than that.
Talking about something that people have known about for many, many years. I mean, measles has been, this is not something new. And we'll see what happens. But certainly, if it progresses, we'll have to take action very strongly.
El Salvador's president said on X that he'd been invited to the White House on April 14th for a working visit to discuss Tren de Aragua and MS-13 and other ways we can support each other, the U.S. and El Salvador. I was curious if you could expand more on what some of these other ideas you have for El Salvador.
Well, I think, you're in the way of that camera, by the way. You should at least say that the camera operator should probably say that she's shooting the back of your head, I don't know why she doesn't say it. I have to say it instead. I have great respect for him. I know him. I've known him for a long time. He's a young leader, and he's very tough on crime. Very, very tough on crime. And in their system, their prison system, they spend a tiny fraction of the money that this country spends. So, but he is coming in, I don't know when, but he is coming in sometime over the next couple of weeks.
What are you and Prime Minister Netanyahu going to speak about tomorrow?
We're going to talk about trade, and we're going to talk about the obvious subject. You know what the obvious subject is?
Do you have any news for us?
He's an actual retard. He's an actual retard. He's an actual retard.
What are you going to speak about tomorrow?
We're going to talk about trade, and we're going to talk about the obvious subject. You know what the obvious subject is?
Do you have any news for us?
I'm trying to do trade just to keep it down. No, look, there's a lot of things going on with the Middle East right now that have to be silenced. We had no problem with the Middle East. Everything was done. We had no problem with Iran. We had no problem with anybody. And then you had October 7th. And that was all because Iran, as you know, was not giving money to anybody because they had no money. Now they have a lot of money. So we'll see what happens.
That's El Salvador. The president there said he would be willing to take American citizens in the federal prison population. Is that one of the ideas you're going to be discussing?
Well, I love that. If we could take some of our 20-time wise guys that push people into subways and that hit people over the back of the head and that purposely run people over in cars, if he would take them, I'd be honored to give them. I don't know what the law says on that, but I can't imagine the law would say anything different. If they can house these horrible criminals for a lot less money than it costs us, I'm all for it, but I'd only do according to the law. But I have suggested that, why should it stop just at people that cross the border illegally? We have some horrible criminals, American grown and born, and if we have somebody that bops an old woman over the head, if we have somebody that is in jail 20 times and goes back and shoots people all over the place and then has a bad judge or a bad prosecutor that do nothing about him, all they worry about is politics, they don't worry about that. I think if we could get El Salvador or somebody to take them, I'd be very happy with it, but I have to see what the law says. Okay, what else?
Can you say, did you agree to lowering tariffs for any of the countries that you spoke to today? So we can
What you understand, Jennifer, you have to understand this.
Jennifer.
We have massive surplus countries that we're dealing with. We have massive deficits. We've got to straighten that out because you can't continue to be that way. It's been that way for years now, and it can't go on any longer. And we're the piggy bank. We have all the advantages. Forget markets for a second. We have all the advantages. We're going to straighten out. We're going to become a wealthy nation again. Wealthy like never before. And we're not going to let other nations that have been ripping us off, whether it's China or the European Union, with all of the European nations that have just it's been like a feast. Look, the European Union was formed for one reason. You know what that was?
To take advantage of the U.S.?
To rip off the United States. So put that in your bonnet. I hope
Put that in your bonnet.
Have a good time.
Thank you for your time, Mr. President.
It's ogre, isn't it? It's all ogre. Oh, man. It's truly ogre.
What's happening right now is a major gamble at best. That is the best way to characterize it, is a major gamble by the Trump administration. Now, maybe the gamble...
Watching him slowly try to cope and figure out when he knows, like, how unbelievably fucked everything is fucking hilarious.
Gamble pays off. But what that's going to rely upon is President Trump making deals now. Now it's deal maker time. Because if it just continues to be confusion, or if this administration has a vested interest in the idea that tariffs themselves enrich countries, and it's totally unclear what the case here is, or whether there is a good feedback loop that would allow President Trump to adjust. And again, I think President Trump lives in reality. I think if the headlines are bad, he adjusts.
Okay.
We just don't know. And uncertainty is, again, its own form of economic risk. And investors know that. So again, to sort of explain the Steelman theory of what President Trump is doing right here, I asked my friend, Perplexity AI, sponsor of the show, how much would the cost of America's debt service drop over the next year if the yields on the 10-year treasuries drop from 4.75%, which is what they were in January or so, to 3.5% currently? They're just below 4%. And Perplexity says, based on the provided calculations, if the yields on 10-year treasuries drop from 4.75% to 3.5%, the cost of America's debt service would drop by approximately $103 billion over the next year. That calculation assumes a total U.S. debt of $33 trillion. 25% of the debt is tied to 10-year treasuries, and the yield decreases from 4.75% to 3.5%. So,
wow, $100 billion. Wow, what's our budget deficit? Over $1 trillion? That's deficit, by the way, not our total debt, which is like 36 or 37 trillion. Our budget deficit, just our shortfall in our budget, I think is over $1 trillion. Wow, okay. So we're just crashing the whole world. By the way, whatever we raise, even if this stupid refinance bullshit is even possible, whatever we raise here is going to be immediately wiped out by the economic contraction and the decrease in revenues as a result of said reduction in economic activity. But
theoretically, it could be a little bit more. You could also get revenues that are taken in by the tariffs, which effectively, as I mentioned, is in fact a tax increase. So you could talk about the reduction of the American debt servicing, if you used all that money to pay off the debt, for example, of several $100 billion. Now, the reality is that over the long term, that isn't going to solve the problem. Only serious restructuring of entitlements is going to solve the problem, particularly means-based entitlement programs. However, if the idea is to bend the cost curve down, and then meanwhile, you're ramping up, for example, AI and productivity in order to make up for the vast expenditures, and so it's a short-term pain in order to kind of hold steady.
Yeah.
That's the best case that you can make for these. Maybe that's what President Trump is doing, and what that's going to require.
You really
is
think that's
not
what he's
only
doing, Ben?
that the bond yields remain fairly low, but also it's going to require a pathway to getting off of the current tariff curve that we are on, because that carries its own inflationary risk.
I feel like this guy doesn't have an audience. I feel like they're all botted. I don't, because this guy's numbers, I think, are pretty high everywhere, and he was getting paid as part of that Russian bullshit. But like, where do you see his like audience at anywhere? I don't see them. I think this guy's like astroturfed or has like a. I think it's just all botted.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons actually by losing money.
It's bloody Black Monday. Holy moly. The Kamala crash is here.
Kamala needs to get in front of a camera today. People are losing their homes today. People are losing their fortunes today. People are losing their futures today. People are losing their 401ks today. This is shaping up to be one of the worst market days in American history.
Based.
I voted for Trump. I think Trump's a smart guy. You may not love him. I think he's smart. Howard Lutnick, I like him. I think he's smart. I think they're smarter than me when it comes to these tariffs. And I also think he's playing a high stakes game here. I'm gonna roll with him for a couple days, couple weeks, and see how this pans out. But my impression of Trump, he makes big moves, big statements, sees how people play it off. The art of the deal is a moving thing. You know, Biden had years of incompetence. So your willingness to stand by or the rope that you gave him was not much, at least for me. It's like, oh, this guy sucks.
That's what Asmongold said, no? Well, Asmongold is implying that Trump was elected by and supported by a bunch of people who don't care about stocks or the economy to get back at people. That not in this way. That's just not true. Most of the people who voted for Trump are not okay with their 401ks tanking. That's just a delusional fantasy based on falling for propaganda online.
And he's proven it for 4 years. I'm going to give Trump the benefit of the doubt here. People saying hold tight, the market will rebound. I'm buying left and right. I don't think Trump's just going to go out there and tank the stock market. That tanks the economy. That's depression. I don't care if you're middle class working. People say, which, by the way, Trump's people never said. I've seen a couple, only rich people care about the stock market. No, you need the stock market to rip. You need it to be solid. If the stock market tanks, the economy's donezo. But I have faith. I'm not panicking. I don't think he's a crazy person, even though Bill Ackman, he's like, sometimes you want the world to think you're crazy. Do you? I don't know. I don't think Trump is crazy. That's the point. I think he's smart. I think he knows the markets can't tank forever. So I'll give him. Now, I almost tweeted out, Dave.
I know this isn't reality since people don't plan properly, but if you're in retirement, you should be mostly in bonds. The people hurting the most people 5 to 10 years from retirement? Maybe. I agree with you, but I mean, how many people are, sorry, when I say maybe, I mean maybe and who's hurting the most, but how many people are actually doing significant rebalances of their portfolio as they approach retirement? I guess if you have like a good financial planner and stuff, you probably should be, but I'm curious how many people actually do that.
We're going to put half that, 45%, in tariffs. And it's like, he lied us into a trade war. And the MAGA fans are just on their
Jesus
knees slurping it down. And I don't know why so many people are so happy to be lied to. So we're going to don't know why so many people are so happy to be lied to.
Are you hopeful that it will return manufacturing and production and jobs?
Way. And I'll tell you why. It's because if you're an investor, right, if you put your investor hat on, then you need stability to make this decision. If you're like, you know what? I think that we can replace the humans in textile manufacturing, clothing, and do this with robots and make price competitive t-shirts with Vietnam now that they have a 45% tariff on them. No way would you build that facility. Donald Trump changes what the tariff rates are literally hour by hour. His rationale for what the tariffs are, Canada especially, changes literally hour by hour. I have heard him say it's fentanyl many times. I've heard him say that it's their tariffs many times. I've heard them say it's their food safety standards is the reason that he's tariffing them. I've heard him say that there's like immigrants. He makes up shit all the time. Would you invest $500 million in a textile manufacturing plant hoping that this stuff is permanent and trustworthy and that you
Well, he
can
doesn't
use
even
it
say
in your
it's permanent.
business plans?
No,
Well,
that makes
not
that's what's
permanent,
important.
Then you're not bringing manufacturing back here.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
We're
And
not. That's not the goal either.
I agree with you on the that's kind of what's causing the stock market fluctuation is like the instability, the
fluctuation,
uncertainty is like, if he just would have said 10% across the board to keep it like easy numbers, there wouldn't have been as much uncertainty and fluctuation. It is, and I do dislike this, the like fly by night changes all the time because you can't make accurate decisions based on that. What it should be is just like a set number that's baked into the cake of our economy. Like this is what it is moving forward. And this way people can make accurate assessments based on what it is. And the goal of tariffs is to bring back more production and manufacturing.
Oof. If Kyle and Taylor are even not fully on board, oh no.
And so if it was a set number, it would be more likely to do that. Kyle, you are muted.
He wants to renegotiate the tariffs that they have on our goods. That's what this is about. He doesn't expect this to be the new norm because it won't work. It just won't work. It's just clearly to put those countries in a hard spot that we can afford to be in, but they cannot. And it's to say to them, do you want to completely remap your economy? Because we're fine without you, Indonesia, but you won't be fine without us. So give us a good deal. And that'll be the new deal going forward. I think that's what's happening. Whether it'll work or not, I don't know. But the hope would be, as far as bringing in manufacturing back, is that maybe after negotiations have happened and they've agreed to something, then maybe they would. But I don't think that textiles is in America's future. I don't think that we're going to be the big textile maker of the 21st century. Everything's robots now. I saw a robot that roofs houses the other day.
Do they do robots for clothes? I talked to my mom about this, who's a subject matter expert on sewing, but not robots, and said that something about fabric is particularly hard to get right. You kind of need humans to hold it together. But I don't know. Maybe she's out of date.
I would be shocked
robots could do it.
I would think shirts there's not even a human hand laid on like in the process. If I would guess it depends on what kind of shirt, but I'm just thinking like a plain white T-shirt, like a Hanes T-shirt. I bet there ain't no people in there doing anything if it's made in the Western world.
Oh! I was like, I really thought it was the cheap labor that was the whole foundation of the textile industry.
I bet there's probably an Indonesian kid working a giant auto loom or something, some machinery that'll suck.
Labor laws are a big reason we can't compete in a lot of. And this isn't me saying we need to get rid of labor laws. It's good that we don't let fucking 11-year-olds into coal mines. But like,
you're 11-year-olds
we can.
Taylor.
They yearn for the mines. The children, there's just no way to be like, hey, we're gonna make American steel. Oh, we can't really do that because China has a bunch of people with like Saw 4 style explosive collars on them who get blown up if they don't, fill their mine cart with enough stuff by the end of the day. And so in that situation, you need to tariff it.
Do you know why recovering steel from World War II battleships has become so popular and cost effective? As far as getting that
new steel,
do you know why they want that old steel?
Is it like a Roman concrete thing where like now we're not doing it as good?
I don't think they generally want that steel. He's going to bring up the fact that nuclear testing has, I think, caused it's hard to make certain types of really sensitive lab equipment, I think, unless you get steel that wasn't on the planet when the nuclear testing happened. But I don't think it's not like the steel is worse for like buildings or whatever. I think it's literally just still used for very, very, very sensitive equipment, I believe.
It's not a Roman concrete thing where now we're not able to. It's not that.
Okay. Is it something? So the steel is not better than what we have now?
Tell us. It has a feature that is better. So before World War II, before the nuclear testing that happened for decades thereafter, all the steel now is radioactive. So if you need to make a piece of machinery that tests for, say, radioactivity, and all the metal that you have to work with to create it is a little radioactive, it's a problem, especially if you're trying to measure some minute amount of radioactivity for some sort of sciencey shit. So they get that World War II battleship steel up, and it doesn't have any radiation in it because it was made before there was any any nuclear weapons.
How many ships could there possibly be?
Tons. The Chinese are getting in a lot of trouble because they're stealing other people's ships, and they're full of dead bodies. So they'll go down and they'll get like some Australian battleship. Yeah, they'll go down and like salvage.
And
it.
then they're selling them at wet markets. The bodies.
Fucking pickled Australian livers.
Yeah.
Oh, you make your cock so hard.
Don't you tell us to stop. We've been doing this for thousands of years. No, I don't think so.
We make you masculine, like American GI in World War II. Oh, speaking of American GI World War II.
Joey, I don't disagree that certainly the textbook expectation for free trade is that tariffs are bad. But I also think that's in a bilateral sense. There's a game theoretical concept where if you have a unilateral tariff system, it is taking advantage. So you restore it with a bilateral tariff system, and you know tariffs are bad for everyone. So you can either have side A re-tariff side B, or side B removes their tariffs. So you have to tell that to the people that initiated tariffs in the first place. Oh, Isaac, yeah, I'm about to experience that too. He says it's impossible to actively trade when a toddler's running around. Well, you and I probably trade differently too. So, I mean, I don't like trading, to be honest. Our son is going to be the greatest computer programmer who ever lived. Listen, if he wants to be a computer programmer, that's fine. If he wants to be an investor, that's fine too. If he wants to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback, that's fine. It's up to him what to be. No pressure. Be CEO, I can accept that. It's not great. It's not perfect. But, if he wants to be a doctor, well, we're going to have a talking to. If he wants to be a lawyer, he's not my son. Small loan of $1 million. I think, listen, capital finds you. That's the funniest thing. So people think like...
How did I link this?
Access to capital is so important. It is not. It's not hard to find capital. You have talent, capital will find you. Doesn't matter if it's your family or not, Trust me, the family members are not stupid. Sometimes they're the most vicious.
What is this? Oh, this morning.
Revenge. Yes, exactly. Rust Belt revenge. That's exactly it. And so this is the reason why you see so many people supporting the Trump tariffs. And this is the part that a lot of people won't say out loud. They want it to go down. They think...
A lot of people won't say this. I'm just going to start saying that before everything from now on. Nobody will tell you this. A lot of people aren't talking about this. Meanwhile, Benny Johnson and everybody else and Trump is literally saying there's going to be short-term pain. Lutnick is literally saying there's going to be... No one will talk about this. Meanwhile, everyone is talking about it. Link me the conservative woman again. Link me that skit.
Look, the fact, which doesn't care about your feelings, is that online and in the media, conservative voices are being silenced. I've said this before. I said it on my YouTube channel. Conservative voices are being silenced. I said it on Joe Rogan. Conservative voices are being silenced. On the Jordan Peterson Kayak podcast. Conservative voices are being silenced. I said it on Tucker Carlson. And Tucker, we know conservative voices are being silenced. Twice, actually. Like I said last time, Tucker, conservative voices are being silenced.
That is exactly right.
And I said it in my New York Times bestseller. Conservative voices are being silenced. It's a point I have to make over and over because conservative voices are being silenced. In fact, you won't even use this footage.
Actually, we will.
Bob, we both know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, my name is James.
Whatever, Bob.
It's a parody. It's not real, but it's real. Like in that every conservative does this. Like you're not allowed to talk about this thing that every single conservative has been incessantly talking about and won't shut the up over forever. Wait, did we finish that Asmund slot? Or did I accidentally click out of it? Hold on.
Revenge. Yes, exactly. Rust Belt revenge. That's exactly it. And so this is the reason why you see so many people supporting the Trump tariffs. And this is the part that a lot of people won't say out loud. They want it to go down. They think, fuck these companies, these international companies that are getting rich off of these, fucking sweatshop laborers. And, they've put Americans out of a job. They want it to go down. Yeah, buy the dip. No, I'm being serious.
How do those companies survive? Whatever happened to the vote with your wallet crowd?
Right. How does this benefit them, though? because it hurts somebody that they don't like, and that's good enough. See, this is the part that you don't understand, is that...
No, we get it. You just wouldn't admit it for a long time, but we get it. We all understand it. It's more about... That's why there are so many... What's the meme of the jump off the cliff to ring the bell? And it's like, to own the libs, ring the bell, and you jump off and die. Like, we get it. You guys have just been denying it for a long fucking time. That it's literally just spite politics, but glad that you're being honest about it now, at least.
When people feel desperate, they'll set somebody else on fire. If people like this feel cold, they're willing to set somebody else on fire to warm themselves up. That's the way it works. And so that's how it happens. It's 40% right. No, and I'm telling you guys, this is what's going to happen. And you're seeing it now. And tariffs happen like this caused the Great Depression. You're right, though. Yeah, but I don't think that these people are already in the Great Depression.
It's such an unhinged well, fuck it. Man, God, I hope Americans can suffer a little bit. We need it. We need to build some character. We need to build some fucking character in this country. We need to figure out what pain and suffering actually is, because holy fucking shit.
Their mind. They're already in the Great Depression. They've been in the Great Depression. These are people that have, like, crushing student aid debt.
Tell me about the Great Depression and my student aid loans. I'm 24 years old with a bachelor's, barely making $72,000 a year. I have student loans to pay. I'm basically in the Great Depression. Okay, Chief. Okay, Chief.
They have, no real sense of, like, upward mobility in the society or anything like that.
That's a Great Depression.
And so they're like, okay,
yeah.
You want to have a Great Recession or whatever? That's fine. And I think that really it is a nuclear option. It is an extreme nuclear option. But I think that a lot of young men are more than willing to take it. And that's why if you look at all of these posts and people, almost every single person who's posting positively about the tariffs is a young man. Have you noticed that?
I mean, the overwhelming amount of people on Twitter are young men, right? Or bots.
Because I've been reading about this a lot. I've been reading about trying to figure out, like, what the fuck is going on here. No careers, only entry-level crap. Exactly.
No careers, only entry-level crap. Hello, you're an audience of young people who just got your degrees. Of course it's only going to be entry-level. Like, you're entry-level. You are entry-level. What are you talking about? Yes, welcome to entering. When you enter the level, you are entry-level. Yes. Asmodel talking about the tariffs. What is this? Did we watch this yesterday? 12 hours ago.
Yesterday, President Trump declared that it was, in fact, Liberation Day. His giant tariff policy that he just dropped on the market unilaterally, probably unconstitutionally. Trump's reciprocal tariffs impose hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes on Americans, be the largest tax increase since the Revenue Act of 1968. One of the biggest tax increases on American consumers in the history of America. And it's going to cost American consumers. It will cost American producers who use inputs from other countries. The Dow...
What is he possibly going to say?
It does keep getting bigger.
What keeps getting bigger?
I didn't believe the memes. But it does. Like,
Is he about to make the charge that Shapiro is part of, like, a conspiracy of globalists to keep foreign manufacturers or something? What?
That's crazy. Why?
Why what?
Jones Industrial Average plummeted immediately more than 1,000 points. The S&P 500 plummeted more than 3%. The NASDAQ plummeted almost 4.5%. There are real-world implications for this sort of stuff. Trade wars are, in fact, not good and not easy to win, particularly if you don't actually have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
It is predicated on a bad idea of how international trade works. A fundamental misunderstanding of trade deficits. Trade deficits they're an accounting procedure. Trade deficits have pretty much nothing to do with the health of an economy. I can name you a period in American history where there was a fairly large surplus in America's balance of trade. The entire Great Depression.
Oh. So this is the reason a lot of people have noted, like, the Daily Wire is laying a lot of people off. And I think one of the big reasons why a lot of these, like, traditional spaces like this are having problems communicating with the public is because they've become the
mouthpiece.
They've effectively
of the
become
establishment.
the authoritarian ruling class. And I think what happens with a lot of people, and this is what happens with politicians too, is that politicians initially go into a into a job, and I think media, this is the same thing that happens, is that they initially go into the poll. Yeah, exactly. It's a good poll, right? And so they go into the media and they have good intentions, but over time they become the the norm, right? The average. And so I'm not voting on that one. Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like the reason why people like Ben Shapiro, like apparently they're having to fire people and they're losing relevance, is because this messaging doesn't resonate with the average person, and the average person that's looking to consume media on the internet isn't
retarded.
looking to hear about like a top-down perspective of like the 1% ideas of the stock market.
Yes. The stock market is just only for the 1%. It's only the 1% that cares about, the stock market. True.
That's the reason why. I'm an average American. I don't care. Yeah, exactly. And but he's not wrong. I think that you can be right and still lose. Like winning, like being right doesn't mean that you're going to win. Now, usually it does, but it doesn't always mean that. How long until Republicans mutiny against Trump when they start losing a lot of their money?
Never, bro. We love Trump.
I think that will only happen if they lose control of the narrative to the public. Because if the public feels like basically the important thing for them to do is to make sure that they have a consistency of making the public believe that it's hurting the upper class more than it's hurting the working class.
Can you answer that seriously? Answer what seriously?
As long as you can maintain that perspective and people think that, they will be okay with the tariffs and they'll be okay with the stock markets going down. So that's it. When Trump seizes when Trump seizes your...
What would it take for Trumples to turn on Trump? Oh, I have. The core fan base will never turn on Trump. But for, I think most people, I think that when you feel something, when you feel a pain that can't be explained away because it's actually something that impacts your life, I think that those people will turn on Trump. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a few, and you're electorally unviable. And I think that the stock market thing will definitely should be that, I think. So we'll see how it goes.
Your funds, will your opinion change? Let me ask you something. What do you mean by that? So like, do you think he's gonna like go into my bank account and then like opinion change? This is your going down. So that's it. When Trump seizes when Trump seizes your funds, will your opinion change? Let me ask you something. What do you mean by that? So like, do you think he's gonna like go into my bank account and then like delete the money from my bank account and then put it in his bank account? Like, what do you mean by this? That was a joke? Okay. All right, let's move on. There's a lot of people that say stupid shit and they're not joking, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but the only person who wins is Trump. U.S. citizens will lose. Yeah, I mean, sure. But like, I'm just telling you, like, that's the way that people will see it.
Okay.
That's it. Like, I don't know what else to say. And I'll see if there's anything else to look at and find here. And man, it is pretty f***ing crazy to see this happen. Especially like how extreme it is. Do you see a drama over Schedule 1 developer being sued by studio? No, I didn't see that at all. And bro, it's always Trump is going to make the rich richer, and now he's going to take your money. You got baited is actually wild. Well, I didn't get baited. The guy just said something stupid, and I reacted to it. That's not even my fault. That's not getting baited, right? That's just how it is. So yes. Let me see if I find a few more of these.
Down about 8% problems, but what's also indisputable is the markets are down about 8% in just 2 days, and I'm getting all kinds of reaction from businesses, farmers in Wisconsin that are highly concerned about what's happening. So those are the facts. I don't know, all I can really do is kind of report to the reality to the administration, let them know, how these actions are impacting my constituents, those problems.
Yep, that's right. It'll be awful for farmers. Yeah, Trump's also trying to tank the 10-year treasury with us needing to refinance $11 trillion in debt. Well, I'm not sure about that. And yeah, I haven't even read about that, I didn't even hear about that. I have no idea. Like, it's the first time hearing of it. Stocks tanking.
I haven't looked up this refinance the debt meme. Is this like a thing that is like actually doable, or I don't understand how the mechanisms by which this works. It sounds, on its face, it sounds impossible, or it sounds unlikely. Like if I have a treasury bill or something, or if I bought some debt instrument and I was guaranteed some percentage payback on interest, why the fuck would I allow the government to just unilaterally change that? No? Like why would I, like how could an ordinary person that's a US debt holder be okay with that? There has to be some other mechanism or something that I'm just not understanding, I guess.
Won't hurt the richest as much. They have money managers who will make money whether stocks go up or down. It's the middle class who will get hurt. Yeah, but the problem, here's the issue, is that the middle class is a lot smaller and higher up than you might imagine. So, like, that's really the difference, is that you have a lot of working class people that have felt disenfranchised, and these tariffs will create that effect. And I think that it will negatively affect them in that way. Let me go back. I'll see if there's any more of these that are worth looking at.
What I find so frustrating about the conversation around tariffs is that we all agree on the problem. We all agree that the deindustrialization of America led to the downward mobility of the American working class, deaths of despair, people working multiple jobs and not being able to afford the American dream. We all agree that it is deeply unfair for the American middle class to be bearing the burden of unfair tariffs from other countries. We all agree that it is great for the president to have leverage in order to demand reasonable things, like that countries stop allowing fentanyl to murder 100,000 Americans every year, and that Mexico do its part to police its own border. And yet when somebody has the courage to show up and say to Wall Street, screw you, I am waging war, I'm waging class warfare on behalf of the American working class.
Damn, she said it. Wow, that's right. That's right.
And you elites in Wall Street, you do what you need to do, because I'm not going to stop fighting for the American working class. Suddenly, everybody is sitting around going, oh no, the stock market. Yeah, the stock market looks like that because the rich are punishing Trump for siding with the neglected and humiliated American working class over them. We have all—
I think the humiliated part is really important. It's what I was mentioning before about the dignity thing, is that people feel like they don't have dignity to live lives in a way that they feel comfortable and confident in. And because of that, it's caused them to have like a deep-seated like resentment of like the, you know, like any powers that be are wrong, basically. It's burning down the system.
Wow.
Already seen these tariffs work, Pierce. The number of people crossing the southern border is at zero.
Because of the tariffs.
Is at record lows for the last 10
Know how that
years.
happened.
We have already seen $1.2 trillion in manufacturing invested in this.
Do you personally buy the idea that the admin is waging class warfare in favor of the working class? No, I think Trump is just, I think Trump is doing what Trump always does, which is destabilize things to a degree where nobody knows what's happening and then take advantage of the chaos. I think that's what he's doing.
Country since January 21st.
To negotiate something. We don't know what, but it'll be something.
Now, how long is Wall Street going to keep trying to punish this president for standing the American working class? I don't know, but I can tell you that the view from the street is people cannot believe that there is a president who is working for them, who is putting them first and telling Wall Street to go screw itself. Wall Street, which picked the Democrats for the last 3 election cycles in a row. That's what the real story is.
Yeah, the reason why Wall Street picks Democrats is because Democrats can control young people by fixating them on identity issues and keeping them away from class warfare. And that happened after again, Occupy Wall Street. That was the big shift, and that's why Democrats support, they get a lot of support from Wall Street. It's because it's the best.
Occupy Wall Street got Democrats a lot of support from Wall Street. What the f is he talking about?
Like misdirection that's out there.